Man, I started in on this rear end and it was greasy. This thing was covered in grease everywhere. So I did a bunch of scraping. I went ahead and bought a new pinion seal for it. This thing was so covered in grease and shit, I just basically let it soak in degreaser for a long time. And I emery clothed that up real good. The fill plug's actually stripped. I got it out, but it's pretty marred up. I'm going to see if I got another one in there in a drawer. I've got a bunch of plugs and stuff. But anyway, this is a mess. The rubber seal was actually already loose from the axle seals. They're just wasted, you know, so I put new ones in it. I had the axles out, cleaned them up. I emery clothed the end of those where the seals will ride. They're in good shape. I'm pretty happy with that. All this in here, the old oil was just nasty greasy, so I took the whole cluster out, cleaned it up real nice, and put it back together. Flushed the, I take a rag soaked in brake clean and I stick it in the axle tube, and then I use a steel piece of pipe and run it through, you know. So I did that three or four times on each tube and pretty much cleaned it all out pretty good. So, I mean, it's clean enough, you know. Somebody had been in here. There was so much RTV silicone in this thing, it was awful. I had to clean all the bolts on the wire wheel. You know, there's still remnants of it on there, but I got most of it off. But anyway, the bolt here for to hold the pin, it was pretty stripped out. So I have a box of rear end pieces in there, miscellaneous 10-bolt stuff. So I had another one to put in there. Anyway, I'm getting ready to put the rear end cover on. I got it all cleaned up and got this all dollied back out flat. A little something I learned a long time ago when I was in my very early 20s. I worked at the Chevy dealership for just about a year. But there was a really old guy in there, and he was about 3 or 4 years from retiring, and he was the mechanic in there. And he's a pretty gruff old dude, man. But I learned a lot from that guy. Pretty much if you didn't do what he said, he put the fear of God in me. But anyway, he taught me to never ever put silicone on one of these rear ends. I actually went to put a rear end cover on a Chevy pickup 10-bolt cover, and he flipped out. So anyway, he always said just to use a gasket and that's it. So I've done that ever since. I don't know how many rear ends I've been into, but I've never had one leak. I know every mechanic's different. I know mechanics sometimes don't use gaskets, but to me, if you ever got to get back in there, it's a hell of a lot cleaner to mess with than that old silicone shit. So anyway, that's just what I do. You can do whatever you want. I'm just telling you the way I learned. But anyway, I've got all new brake parts and stuff I'm going to change out. It got real cloudy a while ago, and I've got this chassis pretty close to the end of my carport, so I wanted to go ahead and get this sealed up just in case it started raining. I was going to put all the brakes and wheel cylinders and all that on and then put the axles in, but hell, I'll just go ahead and seal the rear end up and be done with it. What else? I got my motor mounts off, the chassis mount motor mounts off, and I swapped these out to Buick front and rear. They are different from Monte Carlo. If you don't know, the Monte Carlo goes up and down like that, and that's Buick and Olds right there that I've got on there. So anyway, I swapped those out to the Regal. It's actually quite a bit involved when you go to change chassis out from like a Chevrolet to a Buick. I still haven't decided what I'm going to do with the fuel line yet. I'll probably go ahead and take it off the Century because I kind of want it one piece, you know, and don't want to have to mess with it. But I ain't there yet, you know. It's been raining, the ground's wet, and I got to go back there and try to do that back there in the mud, so it's going to kind of suck. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and seal this rear end up, and I got to go find another bottle of this. I was using that to lube some of the stuff after I cleaned it. But anyway, I'm getting there slowly but surely. But I was going to go ahead and rebuild the front end, but I'm going to go ahead and wait until I get the body on it, because that's just more weight on it. You know, I'll have a hell of a time anyway trying to get the springs compressed back in there without an engine. So I do have a mock-up small block 350 laying over there with heads and stuff on it. So if I have to, I'll just set it right there in the cradle and put weight on it if I have to. I know at one time, a long time ago, I did back up a truck up backwards to it, and these were under the bumper, and I used a floor jack to raise up the lower A-arms, you know, to get the spindle nut on. So anyway, that's always something I can do, but when I get there anyway. Anyway, that's it. I'm getting back to work.